I had an accident.
You had an accident? What does that mean?
Goo!
Oh, I know. Okay. Don't worry, buddy. You hang tight. I'll be right back.
Hey, look, everybody. Billy peed his pants.
Of course I peed my pants. Everybody my age pees their pants. It's the coolest.
Really?
Yes, you ain't cool unless you pee your pants.
This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Andy, January is over. And man, what a great month it was. We spent time hanging out with 4 new friends and one guy that has been on 4 times. We handled all kinds of things, men. Testosterone was just out the roof. But it is time to move into February. And we're bringing in Funny February. And Andy, I know you are extremely excited about this, because if I know one thing, next to drumming and music, comedy is your thing. It's your favorite shows. It's your favorite movie. It's your favorite, YouTube videos. Whatever you're sending me on Facebook, it is something funny. So, you cannot wait for this. I cannot wait for our guests this month. And today is an amazing show. What do you have to say about February?
So comedy is in my Rushmore of things, if I were to pick something. So I love laughing. I love comedy. I've been that way my whole life. My dad is a big comedy fan. Watching stand-up comedy, watching comedy movies, just laughing at silliness and ridiculousness. What's going to be interesting this month is what I find with comedy is that comedy is actually broad. Like, we feel like we narrowed down genres to comedy, but there's so many different kind of subgenres of comedy that we're going to explore this month. And even today, I think we're going to get a better view of what each of us kind of views as comedic and comedy and everything. So it's just gonna be a great day. Lots of laughs to be had. It's gonna be fun.
So I know we want to get right in, but hey, guys, if you're here, thank you for being here. Before we get started, we have so many other amazing shows that you could check out on. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell, so you see all the things that happen at least this month if you're here for comedy. If you like it, be a part of the family, stay a while. But before we go, look, comedy is kind of a funny thing, because here's the thing. We are both Christian, but we are both coming from a non-Christian background. So what we find funny now is a little different, maybe what we found funny before. And even if we still find it funny, there are some lines that we tend to maybe blur and get away from now because of just the titles we hold and the things that we do. We're going to jump into the top 4 comedians in history. This range goes from stand-up to skit shows like SNL, or In Living Color, and even on the silver screen, whether it's TV, movies, film, and honestly, even albums and records that they put out. So we're going to bring all that in and try and figure out who our 4 favorites are. I know this was a tough one for you, Andy, because very similar to your drummers, probably picking your top 4 of those, it's probably pretty tough here too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Like drummers, my number 1 and number 2 are etched into stone forever, for lack of a better term. They are always going to be there. So I had to fill 2 spots with the rest of the comedians in the world. That's difficult. It's already difficult to make 4. Now I limited myself to 2 more that can make the list. But it's going to be a fun day regardless. We're going to laugh. We're going to share quotes. It's just going to be a great time, Kirk. I'm excited.
Let's jump into this thing, though. Rushmore community, it is time for the Rushmore of comedians. Let's get it. All right, Rushmore community, it is time to start our mountains, and we have a great guest. So 4 out of 5 of our guests in January were new friends of ours, and we are not stopping this month. We already have lined up our guests all the way to June, and we have some new guys coming in. Today is nothing less but a new friend of ours, another pastor, another guy that is from the cadre. Man, we are excited, Andy, to welcome Christian Hallman. Welcome to the show.
Christian.
What's going on, guys? How are you guys doing?
Man, I am so excited for this moment. I told my wife, I told McKenna, guess what? Not only did we have Rusty on a few weeks ago, and do we have some other people booked, today we have Christian coming on. Oh, we got Gafar coming on. We're trying to get
Let's go.
Bear up on here. We got all kinds of people lined up, ready to be a part of it. Christian, what were you thinking? Comedians. Why do you like comedians? What's your background? Do you love comedy? Where are we going? How'd you break this down? I know when you were putting it together, you realized, man, this is easy, but it's not. So tell us, what were you deducing there?
So I'll be honest with you guys. I thought I had this in the bag. You know, as soon as you guys reached out and was like, hey, do you want to come on the show? I was like, of course. I've been listening to comedy since I was a young kid. All my favorite movies are comedy movies generally. And even now, so I live in Tampa, Florida. I am a estimator for a general contractor company. And I also am my wife and I, we oversee the middle school ministry at our church. So that's a lot of comedy right there for you. For any of those.
This is back to back weeks that we have someone from the Tampa area. Ed is from down there, and I need to connect you guys.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Ed was on the show last week. I think it's like more Clearwater area.
Yeah, about an hour south of me.
Yeah, got to connect you guys. But yeah, man, what were you thinking?
For me, this was a big undertaking. I mean, probably up to about 5 minutes before the show, before I actually had everything nailed down. You
didn't mention it. We're like talking over like logistics, and you're like, I think I just changed my number 4.
Yeah, literally. I did. And then after that, I was like, oh, wait. And then my number 3 got changed. And so
I love it.
Yeah. So
you got a couple lined up for those Benjamins. All right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. My Benjamins are wide open today. Wide open. And I got a lot. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I'm going with my top 4. So who is your Rosie? We call Rosie Roosevelt. We consider him number 4 in the mountain. He did a lot of great things. He made the mountain, but in order, you're probably number 4.
Who are we to pick that? Can we just, who are we to pick that Rosie number 4? Anyway,
I mean, it's our show. We make the rules. So Rosie,
that's right.
Exactly.
Roosevelt. I mean, we even gave him a woman name, right? Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, like Rose. I mean, I think of League of Their Own every time I say it. But Rosie, Rosie's a good comedian too. I mean, she's funny. Maybe you got Rosie on there. Where are you going?
So my number 4 is going to be Jamie Foxx.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what you like about Jamie Foxx? What's going on with him?
So what I like about Jamie Foxx is, one, in his stand-up bits, he plays a great Ray Charles. But then on the big screen, he played a phenomenal Ray Charles.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? He
was definitely great at Ray.
Absolutely. And so the versatility of Jamie Foxx is really where he even makes the list.
Chef, he's directly from France.
Really?
Yeah, I'll bring him right to you.
All right. Thank you.
Yo, Pierre, you want to come out here? Si pour toi molester tout petit, pas constamment. Si pour tout son battre, tout pour tout petit, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
What kind of French is that?
He from the south side of France. Those who the fils de Shaquille O'Neal, they coupe de ville. He said, you should try this, bro. C'est pas tout son blessé, t'as passé city de crêpe poupon. He said, so what you think about that? C'est bon, sans plastique, puis you better recognize. So what do you think of your food?
Much better. Merci beaucoup.
Gesundheit. He said it's all good.
Yeah, don't forget
So-
he sung on Gold Digger too. He's hanging out with Kanye. He's got his own albums. He plays a singer on TV, but plays a singer on I don't know.
On real life.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
funny, hilarious, funny guy. I remember watching him on like Def Comedy Jam and Kings of Comedy type stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, he's there. He is there. He's definitely on the mountain. And I'm gonna be honest, he's one of my Benjamins, and I'm taking him off.
Nice,
that
already taking
area.
your Benjamin.
I don't have him on my mountain today, but honestly, when you said the name, I'm like, dang it, I didn't think of him. And I know why you would pick him, because we kind of talked about versatility. He was a stand-up guy. He was in movies. He's even showed up in a few television shows here and there. I think
That's right. He did a full seat. He did it like a full show.
Also, I don't know if you guys watch a lot of late night TV, but his bit when he was with Jimmy Fallon and did the Wheel of Musical Impressions is gold.
No. The impression of Mick Jagger.
Oh, man, okay.
Hakuna Matata. Roots, yeah.
Hakuna Matata, such a wonderful ride. Hakuna Matata, ain't no passing quiet. Hakuna Matata.
I don't know if you've seen it, but he does a John.
I'm gonna tell you,
Legend
Jimmy Fallon put a
impersonation.
lot of people on the map.
He is second to Ariana Grande trying to do Christina Aguilera impressions. So
Where are we going, man? I know who your top two are. I've already seen the mountain.
Yes. If you tried hard, you can probably pin down my top four. I think you could. I think
just thought of another
one,
one.
two are obvious. He might be the one that I'm about to mention right now. Let me just give you my criteria. So obviously comedy, as I said, is very broad. We have to kind of narrow the scope down a little bit so that it's doable, right? And that's criteria for everything, right? Like that's why we have these things. What I thought about was I eliminated. Okay, so some of mine do stand-up comedy, but they're not known for stand-up comedy. Like they've done
that's good.
a stand-up or something before, but I could have done a stand-up comedian list and have a totally different list than what I have right now. So the four that I picked are not known for stand-up comedy. The second thing, comedic actors. There's a lot of the goats when it comes to comedic actors, but there's some of them that I almost consider more of a dramatic actor who also does comedies too. Like my four have to be known primarily for their comedies. Now, the four that I'm going to mention, well, three of the four that I'm going to mention have some serious roles that are actually some really good movies. But when we look at them with an honest lens, they're a comedic actor, right? So like what you'll see today, for those that, Kirk, I know you know me very well, and a lot of the Rushmore show you probably do now if you've been hanging out with us for a while. I have a very, I don't want to say narrow, but like there is a specific type of comedy that works for me, right? I am not a very smart, dry humor kind of person that I got to think about it. Not a big fan of like Frasier and stuff. I mean, you guys can like that. That's cool. But like, if it's like
Kelsey Grammer,
I'm not a Kelsey Grammer guy. Yeah. So, but yeah, so there's things like that. So there's certain comedy niche that I like, and all four of mine clearly fit into that. So with all of that said, that's my criteria. It was difficult, like you said. I have a 1 and a 2. The other two I have to find, but I cannot have this list without this guy at my Rosie. My number 4 on my mountain, starting it off, my line in the sand is none other than Steve Carell. Steve Carell is my dude. Michael Scott.
No way.
So here's the
It
thing.
is not the guy I was thinking of.
No.
Okay, so Michael Scott is where it's at. Now, I'm going to give you a list, and I went through their IMDb lists of all of my 4 comedians today, and I put a list of not all of their movies that they did, but the ones that jump out to me. Now, here you go. Obviously, The Office. I've said it a million times here on the show that it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. So The Office, I'm currently watching it for like the 8th time now. I just keep rewatching it. It's just
I'm
I
watching
haven't
it for
seen
the
it.
first time
I
because
haven't watched
Christian,
it.
you haven't seen it? Oh
No,
my
sir.
gosh. Anyway.
all right, so I'm watching it for the first time because let me just say this. In September, when we do television, one of our episodes is Andy has to watch my Georgia TV. I'm watching his Georgia TV, and we're going to critique it a little bit. So that's going to be a show
Yes,
coming up.
fun.
I'm watching The Office through for the first time, and I think I'm at season 3 now, ish, close.
We're almost done with the whole series again. Anyway, so he's done The Office. He was on The Daily Show, which was fantastic. He was a 40-year-old virgin, Get Smart, Date Night, Evan Almighty, and Bruce Almighty, all of the Despicable Me and Minions movies. He was in the short-lived TV show Space Force, which got a lot of hate, but I thought it was funny because he was in it. Anchorman, he's in Anchorman. He's one of the greatest characters in Anchorman. Dinner for Schmucks.
Gosh.
Horton, Here's a Who. He's got a great list of these. I want to say this, though. He got his start 1991 in a Jim Belushi film, Curly Sue. He's a character in that as well. That's his start. 1991 is when he got his start. But Steve Carell, Michael Scott, I mean, that's why I'll forever know him as that. He is a trip. I laugh every time. The funny thing about The Office, and I'm not going to belabor this point, but his character sucks as a person, but you love him so much. It's something about it. If somebody can play like literally one of the worst humans, but be that likable of a character, he's doing something great. And he's a fantastic actor. Like I said, he's got some movies that are in there that are a little bit more serious roles that he does. He's just a great actor. So my number 4, my Rosie, Steve Carell.
Slightly
What's your
shocking,
thought?
but not, because when I saw him in my list, when I was going through, I was like, should I put him? Where would I put him in the ranking? Definitely not my top 4. Should have known that you were going to pick him. He isn't the guy that I thought of, so I might have your 1, 2, and 3 pegged now. Hopefully, I'm right. Like I did earlier. One of the best scenes I've ever seen is Bruce Almighty, Jim Carrey making his mouth move. Every time I see it, I mean, even if I watched it today, which I cannot laugh more. That is so funny. And what I heard was most of that was improv. Like most of it was like on the fly. It wasn't all like
you say that, and that's funny. That's where he got his start, was in improv comedy. So if you ever watch, go to YouTube. You're already here, but go when you're done watching this episode and pull up like outtakes and bloopers.
Yourself! 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 You and everyone who looks like you! You and your role.
Our tops. Susan?
It could be from anything that Steve Carell does. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be any movie, any show, whatever. And it is the funniest. His laughter just makes me laugh. It's one of those things. So I love Steve Carell.
Absolutely.
So Christian, you haven't seen The Office, but do you like Steve Carell? Have you seen some of his movies?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve Carell. You say Bruce Almighty. My brothers and I, like growing up, we had a few DVDs that we were allowed to watch at any point in time without parents around, and they knew that we weren't going to start trying to karate chop each other or go outside and try to grab BB guns and hurt each other. But Bruce Almighty was one of them. And I remember watching that movie over and over and over again. It was one of those things that I could not stop. I mean, like, especially like I would watch and I'm not a credits guy, but I would watch the credits for the end credit scenes of like the bloopers of them on set doing whatever. But it is absolutely hilarious.
Voice acting isn't easy. And he does Gru for Despicable Me, and that's a big deal. And I have a bunch of guys that kind of does some voice acting as well. Look, I'm gonna start off hot. I'm going hot as a firecracker. This guy's gonna be on 75% of the lists that are down low. I just know it. One, because he is a guy that is still destroying the comedy as far as I'm concerned. He's a guy that he has his own production in comedy.
Oh,
right? So I am going with none other than one of the best. And I mean, as far as a movie list goes in the comedy area, he's packed. I'm going with Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler.
Wow.
Right off the bat, Adam Sandler, comedy, stand-up, started in Skits, SNL. He is Hotel Transylvania, voice acting. He has Happy Gilmore and all of those beginning Happy Madison movies with Billy Madison.
Oh, yeah. Ultraviolet rays, bad. Lotion, good.
And Longest Yard and just going on. He did some straight stuff, right? Like some just like not comedy, but pretty decent things, you know? And they have even have funny moments in those, but like Punch Drunk Love and Spanglish and all those things. But on top of that, he has albums of his comedy. He has his, like I said, his own production company, Happy Madison, that puts out film after film. Now he's on the Netflix side doing things like Sandy Wexler. He is legit. Now there's one thing I almost took him off for. I mean, like, this is a cardinal sin in my book. He was born in New York, but he is a freaking Red Sox fan. I just cannot get it. Adam Sandler, he's one of the GOATs to me. In his prime, I thought there was nobody better. The string of movies that he had, Waterboy, Billy Madison, and Happy Gilmore, and those bang, 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 bang. Little Nicky probably ended that right about there. That was a string of comedy movies that I don't know if many other comedians, especially guys coming from the SNL world, coming from the stand-up side, you know, Hanukkah. I mean, let's go. Like, can opener, boom, boom. I mean, like, bro, that album was legit. So anyways, there it is. Starting real, putting the foundation down, man. Like Peter, I'm building a fortress.
That's a heavy foundation, Kurt.
All I'm gonna say is that it's a good pick.
I told you I got one. Christian, do you have anything you want to say about Adam Sandler?
I'm gonna have to go with Andy's answer.
You're gonna withhold? Nice.
I'm gonna withhold.
I plead the fifth.
As long as we don't talk about that Christmas cartoon movie. Yeah. We're at TJ Jazzy Jeff. Where are you going? Thomas Jefferson.
All right. So this next guy right here, my number 3, he is probably one of the funniest SNL guys ever. I remember being 8 years old, 9 years old, probably should not have watched these, but the best of a very funny Eddie Murphy.
Nice.
Whoa. I love that. I love that.
Yeah, man.
Love it.
Yeah,
so
man.
You went bang, bang. Jamie Foxx, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, man. So I might be 27 years old, but I am an old school guy when it comes to comedy. And so Eddie Murphy, like I said, my favorite skit that he ever did was him doing Mr. Rogers.
Yes, hey, I just in my mind saw this skit.
Come on in the neighborhood.
A beautiful day for a neighbor. Could you be mine?
You know, like, who's at the door? It's your friendly neighborhood crackhead. You know, like, you don't get any better than that. Okay, I mean, you could with Dave Chappelle, but he does not make this list. So, Eddie Murphy.
Wait, so you brought up a good point right there, Dave Chappelle. I don't know if Dave Chappelle makes any of our lists. Dave Chappelle is a god in comedy. But I'm going to tell you this. I mean, he's one of those guys, when in the opening monologue that we had, there you go, opening monologue, he's one of those guys that his comedy is probably too edgy for me right now. I know he's doing a lot of things, a lot of political things. He's on both sides of the fence. But Eddie has changed from who he used to be to who he is now.
Absolutely.
And when he was back in the day doing things like Raw and Delirious, I watched that as a kid because I was definitely unsaved and I thought it was hilarious. I mean,
same. I was, yeah.
But now he's doing things, like Haunted Mansion and, like much more friendly.
One of the most underrated comedy flicks of all time, Daddy Daycare. Come on, let's not forget about that one.
Daddy Daycare.
Cannon watches
Dr.
Daddy Daycare probably once every other week. And I'm going to tell you, don't sleep on Jeff Garland. Don't sleep.
Oh, laminated.
We'll never be in the same league as this institution.
I love that movie so much.
Look, I mean,
Eddie
here's
Murphy.
the thing. Eddie Murphy is from like you said, Dr. Doolittle 1, 2, 3. I mean, the guy is versatile among the best. And so not only did he do stand-up very successfully, he did a stint in SNL and held his own for the longest time. Got into an old movie, Life, with your Bernie Mac.
You gonna eat your cornbread?
Exactly. I'm that baby daddy.
Somebody asked you if they want your cornbread.
You say no.
Now look, that movie right there has a lot of gods in the comedic world. A lot of them. One of them's gone too soon.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah,
you got that part too, though. Eddie Murphy. We talk about voice acting. We cannot not say donkey. Come on,
I'm telling you,
Mushu.
My favorite Disney movie is Mulan because of Mushu.
Come on.
And then my wife's favorite movie, especially whenever she's sick, is Shrek.
Mulan. What a great movie. But Christian, I have a serious question. Is Mulan a war movie?
I can't.
You said enough. You said enough. Let's get on to
Dang it.
Hey, I'm not privy to this. You just brought me into parents fighting.
Well,
Don't do that.
So 2 weeks ago we had war movies, and spoiler alert, if you haven't watched already, Andy came out with 4 bangers, right? And I'm pretty sure TJ Jazzy Jeff on his mountain, maybe Rosie, was none other than Mulan. So that was his Rushmore war movie.
It's a war movie. She saves China from the Huns. Come on.
But in all fairness, oh wait, no, yeah. So that was your TJ Jazzy Jeff, because now I remember your Rosie. It wasn't the Mulan that was so much in. Is it Mulan? I always say it wrong.
Mulan. It's Mulan.
It wasn't so much in question, but more so your Lincoln George, which we're not to our Lincoln George yet. We have to finish off TJ and Andy. Where are we going?
Okay, comedians, again, sticking with this. This guy is just one of the goats. What's interesting about my TJ Jazzy Jeff is that in such a short career, how many classics he is a part of. Very tragically passed away in 1997. If we're going to talk about one of the goats of Saturday Night Live, we cannot forget about Chris Farley. So Chris Farley is
my gosh.
You did not name the guy I thought, but that's cool.
So I love. Listen, I said before, you can put my type of comedy into like a box. Like there's one that really fits for me. And that cast of SNL, when Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, David Spade, Eddie Murphy was a part of that, like that they were all kind of around that time. Or no, Chris Rock was there. Like just Dana Carvey, all of these, that is all me. But Chris Farley, man, if we're just going to talk SNL, I mean, the skits that he was, Chippendales is one of the iconic skits, right, with Patrick Swayze. We talk about I've used this clip multiple times. Lay off me, I'm starving. Like that one. He's just you live in a van down by the river. Like,
Fat guy in a little coat.
So then we go to the movies. Okay, so SNL, obviously, big start from that. He was
his famous line that I wanted to put in one before I couldn't, but I might try and find a way to get it in this time.
He's Beverly Hills Ninja. He was
Yes.
in
Yep.
all that. He made a little appearance on all that for all my 90s kids.
Bus driver.
He was the original Shrek. He was originally lined up to be the voice of Shrek, and there's actually like 80 to 85% of the lines were completed with him being Shrek. Obviously passed away in 1997, so that didn't come to be. But Black Sheep, Tommy Boy, Billy Madison, Airheads, Wayne's World 1 and 2, which actually his first start in film, according to IMDb, is Wayne's World 1. He did so many things. And Chris Farley, sort of unfortunate thing is he did get pigeonholed into like the fat guy that was just crazy, whatever, but he did it so well. I mean, these movies are so good. Wayne's World, he's just a bit part in, but makes the movie like the scenes that he's a part of. They go to Chicago. We're gonna come back to Chicago. Yeah, like so many amazing little lines that he's a part of. He's in Airheads, which is again one of those great movies. Billy Madison, like you just said, is the bus driver. He's no talking on the bus, and then he gets the banana. Man, it's just so good. Chris Farley, what I always think about when I think of Chris Farley, and if you haven't watched your Rosie's, kind of whole tribute to Chris Farley, I'm talking about my friend Chris Farley. I cry every time I watch it. Obviously, him and Adam Sandler were like best of buddies.
Yeah, he was definitely part of the Happy Madison crew.
Right. What I'll say is this: tragically, again, passed away in 1997. Had addiction issues and everything like that was going on. But can you imagine where Chris Farley would be today? Like it's one of those. It's like you think about like what would Jimi Hendrix be doing in music if he was still around? What would all of these be doing? I'm
gonna one up you. What a phenomenal pick Farley is. Chris Farley is a god in comedy. He is one of the GOATs. Again, you said it over and over and over again. But you were about to mention, what if Jimi Hendrix? What if, probably go through the long list of musicians that died at 27 years old, like Kurt Cobain and Janis Joplin and whoever else. But when I think of Chris Farley, I immediately think of two other comedians, and that's John Belushi and John Candy. And both of them were very similar to him as far as overweight, over the top, just heavy on the that kind of thing, and just being all in your face. But man, were they funny. And all of them died too soon. And all three of them could be on any mountain. I wouldn't be mad at nobody. So
yeah, absolutely. What's really great about that as well is as the other two gentlemen, like especially John Candy, as he got like up in years before he did pass, I mean, he was able to diversify himself to where he got away from the ooga booga, like the
one of my favorite things about John Candy, well, obviously it's Cool Runnings, but is Camp Candy, the cartoon.
Camp Candy, thank you. Yes.
But we digress. That's way off of him, but that's who I think of when I think of those three tragedies. I kind of loop them all together. And
but you're a Chris Farley fan? You're a Chris Farley guy?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you like comedy, you got to.
For sure. Like as soon as you said his name, Beverly Hills Ninja jumped into my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that. And then Tommy Boy immediately. Yeah. I mean, again, like I am an old soul when it comes to comedy, like if I can watch it on a VHS tape, it's real.
And he had that run, Tommy Boy and Black Sheep with David Spade. Those two as a 1-2 punch was just a great combination there. So yeah, Chris Farley, that's where I'm going to go for my TJ, Jazzy, Jeff, one of the greats, gone too soon. But and also his brother, I don't know if you guys watch stand-up comedy, but his brother is in comedy right now. He's a stand-up comedian. He's got a dry bar comedy skit that he does. He's pretty funny. I mean, he's no Chris Farley. I mean, let's be honest. I think he even mentions that in some of his stuff. But yeah, so Chris Farley is my guy. TJ, Jazzy, Jeff, Kirk. Where are you going to go? Where are we continuing your mountain? Your TJ
All right,
Jazzy Jeff.
I assume that nobody under the age of 35 is going to pick this guy. But to me, he is the 70s and 80s for comedy and me. I was thinking of trying to pick kind of some eras and trying to figure that. I really didn't even give you guys my criteria earlier, but basically I picked 4 guys, wanted to kind of span a couple different spaces of time. There was one guy, he had to be there, and actually 2 guys, that's 1 and 2. And then my last 2, I was like, let's get an 80s guy in there. Let's get a, more 90s guy. And so Sandler for me is 90s and on. This guy's 80s and on. He doesn't do a whole lot as much anymore, but his IMDb filmography is phenomenal. He is also a SNL guy. He's also a stand-up comedian guy. He has just a tremendous talent. He's a banjo player. He is a book writer. He is a voice actor. He's just amazing. And I am just going to go with none other than King Tut, Steve Martin. I'm going with Steve Martin.
Oh, wow.
And to me, it is the 80s for me. I could have picked a lot of guys, and I know there's going to be some out there.
Cheaper
I had to mark a few off. The cast of Ghostbusters, all those guys I was thinking about. I mean, so John Candy I had in my mind, which just brought up. But Steve Martin, to me, he's solid in everything he was in. 3 Amigos, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Man with Two Brains, The Jerk. The Jerk might be one of my favorite movies of all time. Just a hilarious movie. If you've seen some of his recent stuff, he's doing some stuff now with Martin Short on Hulu, and it's like this funny murder mystery thing, which is kind of interesting to watch. He is a stand-up guy. I mean, he is one of the greatest comedians as far, and he had that shtick because his hair's been white since he was like 20. So he was in Roxanne. He was, his filmography goes on. Don't let me forget, Father of the Bride might be one of the greatest tear-jerking comedies I've ever been a part of. Big Year with Two Gods, right? He was a part of Cheaper by the Dozen. He was, he even was with Eddie Murphy in Bowfinger, which might be one of Eddie Murphy's worst movies, but he was hilarious. Leap of Faith, when he was the freaking pastor, that is hilarious. Making fun of all pastors. If you can't laugh at yourself. Sergeant Bilko, what? I mean, just it goes on and on. House Sitter, Father of the Bride 2, Parenthood, My Blue Heaven, Little Shop of Horrors. Oh man, 3 Amigos, Man with Two Brains. But his SNL. He was in the Muppet movie, Andy. The Muppet.
I was waiting for you to do it. I was waiting for you to say it.
And the Muppet movie. Gosh. Oh, let's not forget with John Candy, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Dude, he was in so many classic movies in the 80s, late and early 90s. His SNL skits were great. He's one of the guys, along with Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, Eddie Murphy, all those guys back then that really put SNL on the map, to me. Billy Crystal and Belushi and all those guys. He was a part of that. Another thing that's really funny is watching him when you mentioned this early, Andy, watching him whenever he shows up to late night shows, they're always classic, and those are awesome. Oh, he was on Home as a voice actor. Yeah, Home as a voice actor. Anyways,
really
talking too much, but Steve Martin, my TJ Jazzy Jeff, and I think it's a solid pick. I'm stuck on it. Yeah, I love it.
I like the pick, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said people under 35 are not going to pick this in top 4. We can appreciate it. Again, Christian, as an old soul in comedy, you can appreciate it. I mean, and I'm not speaking for you. Maybe you do have Steve Martin later, but to me, he was a guy that jumped onto my Benjamins. Just because of the respect that's due to his name. And he's obviously one of the greats. I don't think, maybe I didn't hear you say this, but he was in Pink Panther. That's a good one.
Yeah. He did 2 movies.
Yeah.
like Pink Panther. He did that, and he did the Looney Tunes movie, which both were kind of Space Jam-ish, kind of with cartoon and real.
Yes.
That was, he did that too.
You hit the nail, Andy, where you said Kurt, nobody under 35. I'll be honest with you. The only thing that I can recall, like the thing that when you say his name, what comes in my mind is Cheaper by the Dozen. And I'm like, I'm just like not even close. But
Wild and Crazy Guys. Yep.
Respect, but and then there's another movie where he's got like a long ponytail, and I'm like, nah, can't do it. Can't do it.
Great. Hey, look, he's one of the greats. He paved the way for all these SNL guys. That's another reason.
That's right.
I saw where him and Martin Short were like on tour, and their tickets for this concert was like $300. It was nuts, and people are paying it. It's crazy. I mean, he's just one of those guys. He's for the older generation. Had to go with one at least in the '80s and celebrate. I could have went a whole ton of different routes.
So for sure,
that was my pick. And now I'm going to go with you guys.
Well, am I mistaken by you saying that he's your one guy from the '80s that you picked?
No. Wait. He's the guy that solidifies '80s for me.
Okay.
My other two.
I was like, there's no way he's your one. Kurt, we are now halfway through our comedy routine here, and I think it's time. We've been laughing too much, man. We gotta take a break, right? What are we gonna do for our break?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Fourth down, Coach. What do we do? I'll tell you what we do. I want you to go on the field. Look for anyone with an O. Let's kill them with kindness. Jimmy, I want you to make balloon animals. Tyler, make little tea cozy, something fun. Are you okay? We will win this for Mother Russia. Coach, eat a Snickers. Why is that, Chief? You get a little loopy when you're hungry. Better. Now let's go for it!
Go get him, guys.
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
All right, Rushmore community. We've been halfway through our mountain. We are now kicking off Lincoln, George. Christian, you're up.
Yeah. This next one is probably the most heart-wrenching, but also he is the icon of comedy for me. My George is personal, but my Lincoln is for the culture. Okay.
Yeah.
My Lincoln is Mr. Robin Williams. When I say so again, criteria, right? Stand up, but diversity or variety in movie as well. For me, the first movie that I ever saw him in was Jack, and I remember I can see the opening scene, like even now, like the little marble rolling across the screen, rolling down the stairs, and like you see or you hear the kid playing outside, and then this grown man runs in, and like his mom's having to shave his face, and he looks 50 years old, because obviously he is, but like in the movie, he's playing a 6-year-old. And so like that, Mrs. Doubtfire, Flubber. I mean, these movies shaped my childhood. Like I was right there in that crossover as VHS to DVD. And so I had a bookcase full of these VHSs of Robin Williams. I mean, he played Genie in Aladdin. Come on. Like Will Smith can do it, but nobody does it like Robin Williams. That is my Lincoln.
Kurt loves the movie RV. I know that.
Hey, JoJo. Okay, let it rip.
Turn it on!
That's a big, Kirk's a big fan.
Dude,
told that plenty of times.
Thank you. RV is underrated. Dude, it's such a great movie. I laugh from beginning to end. Robin Williams,
Absolutely.
Great pick. Here's one I'll throw out at you. I love Robin Williams. I love everything about him. The Fisher King. If this is more of a serious, but he's kind of silly in it.
Yeah.
sometimes, but he's homeless. And I did homeless ministry for the last 4 years. And I've probably watched that movie 5 or 6 times because of that. I mean, I've seen so many guys out there that remind me of the Fisher King. But he also did some other serious roles. Patch Adams. Good morning, Vietnam. Almost had that on my war movie the other day. But that's such a great movie. You mentioned
Dead Poet Society.
Yes, thank you. Dead Poet Society. That's
Dead Poet Society.
Oh, dude, Dead Poet Society was on my school movies. Yep, definitely was there.
August Rush. I know we're going away from comedy right now, but he's got a lot of great interesting fact. I don't know if it's interesting. It's kind of tragic. Obviously he passed away. But he passed away on my birthday in 2014. It was on my birthday. I was out to eat dinner. It's like one of those, like, you remember where you were when we were eating at a restaurant not far from here. And I'm like, it's a good day. I think I was turning 25 or whatever at the time. And we're in this restaurant. They got the TVs around. They got games on or whatever. The breaking news comes across the screen that Robin Williams dies. And now I feel bad celebrating my birthday. Like, it's one of those. But it was a tragic moment. It really was. So
for sure.
He's another one. And it's like with Chris Farley, like passing away early, like even with Robin Williams, it's like a gone too soon kind of thing. Can you imagine like movies he'd be in today, like with Netflix and all of those things that are coming along?
Oh,
like,
man.
All of
for sure.
Man, great pick. Christian, you're surprising me a little bit. I'm being honest. You're surprising me.
Really?
I love the picks. I love all of them. I love them. I just wasn't sure where you were going to go, and now I know you a little bit more, and I love it. All right, Andy.
You expected me to stay in my early 2000s.
Honestly, I kind of expect you to in between me and Andy. I knew Andy was going to go. I love it.
It's good picks, though. I love it. I love when we have a surprise from a guest. So
Andrew.
Link, here we go. This is the 1-2. These are always on.
Boring.
Only difference. The only problem, I guess, came into where do I put each one. So I want to let the Rushmore community know right now. My Link is just as important to me as my George. There is no distinction between these two. Okay. My Link. Let's go to my number 2. Gosh, it's no surprise. For every reason you mentioned earlier, I'm going to go with my Crushmore. Our first Crushmore today.
Crushmore!
Like, Adam Sandler is the number 2.
Go.
He's one of the greatest of all times. Okay, so you mentioned a lot of those movies. Airheads, my second time mentioning Airheads, but fantastic, underrated movie if you haven't watched it. Billy Madison, you mentioned. Funny story about Billy Madison. When Napster and like LimeWire and all that stuff was big, we used to burn CDs and it was a mixed CD of whatever. I had a CD on rotation in my vehicle that was just quotes from Billy Madison.
Dude,
I downloaded.
I had this, not from that movie, but that was just a cool thing back then, was to have quotes on DVD.
I had a CD full of quotes from Billy Madison. Stop looking at me, Swan. I love this movie so much. Obviously, all the SNL stuff that we talked about before. Happy Gilmore, you said you didn't say this one, and I've got a story about this one too. Wedding Singer, one of the greatest movies that he did.
They were kind of going. That was in that first run
for my wedding. 10 plus years ago now. I surprised my wife. I surprised her by bringing my guitar and singing "To Grow Old with You" at our wedding.
No way!
It was awesome. I played on guitar, and we played. I even let you hold the remote control.
I'll miss you, kiss you, give you my coat when you are cold. Need you, feed you, even let you hold the remote control.
I love that movie. Wedding Singer is one of the most quotable.
We have to have that on video somewhere, right, Andy?
This was before video was a thing. I think I have a picture of it.
You aren't that old.
So Wedding Singer is great. I quote that one all the time. Nobody messes with Billy Idol. Anyway, I love that movie. Waterboy, you said Big Daddy. Big Daddy is a great one. You didn't share that one. Mr. Deeds. And the one you said we weren't going to say, 8 Crazy Nights. This was like before being a Christian. I enjoyed this movie. It's one of those movies that I can't go back to. Anger management.
God, I forgot about that one. That's a great movie.
Click. That movie is like it's so hilarious.
And then in a
Cobbler? It's
it was a hard watch.
I love
51st Dates. I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry.
Oh,
Funny People. Grown Ups.
Yeah, Grown Ups 1 and 2. Grown Ups to me gets a bad rap. It's like, look at this photograph. It's really a good movie, but we just hate on it so much.
Yeah, you don't ever admit to it, but if it's running on TBS, you're not going to turn it off.
Yeah, it's a great
It's the Expendables of comedy. It's just the Expendables of comedy.
One of my favorite scenes is when Buscemi flies down that zip line.
Yes.
Dude.
And all the people that he is like part of that whole thing. So Steve Buscemi's in a lot of those movies, but you've got Rob Schneider. Norm Macdonald was big.
Norm Macdonald lost too soon.
Yeah, he was another great one. So anyway, yeah, all of those reasons. Adam Sandler, one of the most quotable actors.
Longest Yard, man, was on your football movie.
Yeah, The Longest Yard is a great one. So
Waterboy was on mine and yours, right?
Waterboy. I love
water sucks.
Bobby, did they ever catch that gorilla that escaped from the zoo and punched you in the eye? No, mama. The search continues. Anyway, so I quote him all
Medulla oblongata. Christian's going to withhold his comments.
Still withholding.
My turn for my link, and I'm going with the stand-up comedy. The stand-up comedian to me that kind of probably kind of shaped my early childhood, had these tapes, if you will, that I listened to over and over again. My parents probably didn't like it so much. I used to say the skits that are not politically correct anymore. And I'm going to go with none other than a Rushmore, Eddie Murphy.
Let's go.
To me, he has the chops of all the like. For me, he is comedy, delirious, raw. We mentioned it earlier, but man, everything from Trading Places, which I used him in the very first episode this year, Trading Places, to Coming to America. I mean, there were so many great movies in the 80s that he was just a part of. You're talking about Haunted Mansion, Dr. Doolittle's, all of them. That Dr. Doolittle scene when that tiger is trying to jump off the building is gold, right? It is.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did more than that though. Like he did The Clumps and Nutty Professor. He's done so much stuff. And we talked about it earlier. His early stuff, it was a little more raw. And boom, boom. I guess no pun intended, but I guess it should be. It was more raw. He was okay to curse. I mean, he calls out Bill Cosby, one of the greatest stand-up shows ever. And you know what? I didn't put Bill on here. He's got a little tainted past. I can't go. But his show is one of my most memorable with my dad. But he calls out Bill. He calls out Bill Cosby. Like that to me is huge. He acts like Richard Pryor, another guy that don't make my mountain, but he's probably a god in the comedic world. But I'm going to honor that. I know there's people out there that are going to put those. I get you. But to me, Eddie did a kind of a 180 for me. He went from being that to the daddy daycare to the Haunted Mansions and what is it? Imagine? Is it Imagining? Something like that. Anyways, he's such a great person. And Andy, you mentioned it earlier. I was hoping to save it for the end, but he, to me, puts on one of the best voice performances ever as Donkey in Mushu.
My problems have all gone. There's no one to deride me. But you gotta have friends. Stop singing!
It's going to take a miracle to get me into the army.
Did I hear someone ask for America? Let me hear you say, ow! Ah! That's close enough.
He was SNL. He has
Gumby.
He covers all he covers all the bases. He's been in almost every media form of comedy. He's got best-selling albums. He's got stand-up. He's got SNL. He's got the skits. He's got the movies. At one time, I believe, and I don't remember this, but at one time I think he was the highest paid actor in the world, if I remember correctly. And I may be wrong. You can fact check me on that one. But Eddie Murphy, my link. You guys have already mentioned a lot about him. So you got any more to add?
What about, and we didn't say this, so you kind of maybe brushed across this. I know it's not about comedy, but my girl likes to party all the time. My girl wants to party all the time. Party all the time. Come on, he put out an album too. Like this dude is on top of the world, man.
Like the he was Jamie Foxx before Jamie Foxx. Here's another thing. Something that's funny about him. Dude's got 10 kids. 10 kids.
10 kids.
That's hilarious as it is.
More like he's the Nick Cannon of
He's got his own daddy daycare. He is loved by Hollywood. He's loved by his peers. He is looked up to, and he is a huge philanthropist. And he does a lot of charity work and stuff too. From what I understand, he's like Jay Leno and owns a lot of really classic cars and like exotic cars. So Eddie Murphy, my link. All right, Rushmore community, we are to the pinnacle. We are at the top of the mountain. We have scaled Mount Rushmore. We are setting up camp, and we are going to give you our number one picks for comedians. Now, this isn't easy. There are still a lot. I mean, the list is on and on and on of people that could be on these mountains. And man, I'm excited to see where this goes. I kind of think I think I have all three picks, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. Christian, you're up first. Where are we going for your George?
So for my George, I don't think that it is a surprise at the lack of talking that I have done when his name has been mentioned by two others here on this here podcast.
Let's go.
So my George is going to be the greatest, the pinnacle of comedy, Adam Sandler.
Triple
That's a trip. That's a trip, guys. Come on.
Let's go.
So, man, I am astonished by how versatile, again, versatility was a big factor in my picks. And so Adam Sandler goes from,
Lunch Lady Land. We didn't say that.
Oh, man. The goat song, some old school singing comedy.
Trying to pick up some new stuff to talk about.
Pixel is one of his newer
Love that movie. Underrated, because I'm an 80s guy. Most people hated it. Love that movie.
Yep. And then you have The Cobbler. I loved it. I'll be honest.
Did you?
I loved it. I had no idea what was going on in the movie until about 45 minutes till it ended, or like 30 minutes till it ended. But once I found out that he was like a spy or whatever, I was like, let's go.
Have you seen The Hustle?
Yes, I actually just watched it about 3 weeks ago.
Dude,
it's amazing.
Great. It's amazing.
It's great.
I was not excited for it when I kind of heard what it was. Dude, it is so good.
Yeah. I did not expect much from it, honestly. But I was like, you know what? I'm laying in bed. I get to pick the movie because my wife's asleep. Like, let's see. So turned it on. She ended up staying up to finish it. That's how good the movie was. So I mean, it was a good movie. But yeah, Billy Madison, Big Daddy,
Bulletproof,
dude.
Oh yeah, Bulletproof. Yeah.
Wild stuff. And again, like he's all over the place.
Reign Over Me, Zohan, Bedtime Stories, Funny People. Just go with it. He was even in Jack and Jill and Zookeeper, and That's My Boy, bro.
Yeah, so he's running into some sketchy territory there. He got his start on The Cosby Show. He was on 4 episodes, 87 to 88. He was on 4 episodes. Character's name was Smitty. First start on The Cosby Show. So there you go. I know we
news to me
halfway sort of mentioned Bill Cosby earlier, but anyway, so yeah, great pick. Obviously, triple Crushmore. Triple Crushmore.
It only happens once, probably a month or so. We don't get it very often, and we have to make a show of just triple Crushmores and see what we're looking like. There's a lot.
Yeah. We have Arnold
James Bond was one of
Schwarzenegger.
them.
Yeah. They got a
007
bunch
and
of them,
Nintendo
so.
64.
Well,
Got a couple
yeah,
of them.
rightfully.
But Andy, we're to you. We're to you, George.
Ooh, boy.
I can't
My
believe
George.
I can't believe this name wasn't mentioned already.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know where I'm going. My number one.
Everybody
it's just
in
my
America
go-to.
knows where you're going.
The worst kept secret, my George of comedians, is none other than Will Ferrell. He is the best. I love Will Ferrell. Let me tell you this. He's not everyone's cup of tea.
Jet Smith.
My
More
wife
cowbell.
does not like more cowbell. My wife does not like Will Ferrell. She's not a big Will Ferrell. In some things, she's kind of eased into it. Most people, and I know my mom hates Will Ferrell. It's whatever. I absolutely love Will Ferrell and everything that he does. Okay, so he's parts in the Austin Powers movies, Night at the Roxbury, Superstar, Zoolander, Old School, Elf, the best Christmas movie of all time. I'll move on. Anchorman
Absolutely.
1 and 2, both great. Starsky and Hutch, Kicking and Screaming. I
Old
love
School.
that movie. Every time,
Old
Frank
School.
the Tank. Frank the Tank.
Going streaking
for
through the quad.
For Kicking and Screaming, every time I go to a coffee shop, I want to use the quote.
Coffee, so I don't want too much. Okay. Can you take half of the regular version of the coffee and mix it with half of the decaffeinated version? Or is that just too weird a thing to ask for?
Half calf? Right, half calf.
Half calf. We're gonna have a half calf.
Do you guys have a coffee that's like half of the caffeine of a normal coffee, but also not caffeine? Oh, a half calf. Yeah, a half calf. It's like a weird quote that I always go to. Kicking and Screaming with Mike Ditka's in that one. It's a great movie. Wedding Crashers. I love Wedding Crashers. Mom, meatloaf. Like, she's so good. She's so.
Did you watch
so
Spirited?
Talladega Nights. I haven't watched it yet, but
it's so good.
So I just put it on the list. I haven't gotten to that one yet. Talladega Nights. Come on now. I mean, we got to love that. Great movie. Blades of Glory, Semi-Pro, Step Brothers. Okay, we didn't even mention Saturday Night Live, and all of you did say more cowbell, but all of the skits that he's on that. I love the skit when he's born as a baby, but he's a 40-year-old man. He comes oh gosh, yeah. That's a great one.
It's so hot in there.
The other guys.
Now
the other
look,
guys
we were
is a
talking earlier.
Great movie.
We were talking earlier about voice acting. Curious George,
I was getting there.
Megamind, and
Megamind.
The Lego Movie.
The Lego Movie, yes. So those are on there too. So the other guys, he's a bit part in The Office as D'Angelo Vickers. He's the first boss who takes over for Steve Carell's once he leaves the show. Daddy's Home, Holmes and Watson. I know you like that one, Kirk. I know you're a big Sherlock Holmes guy. So
that was funny.
All of those movies. He did a great movie. I think it was called Everything Must Go. It was not a comedy.
Interesting.
But if you haven't seen Everything Must Go, it's a really cool movie. Like Step Brothers just did you play my drum set? Like, I love that movie. You mentioned it in the beginning of this, the whole him and Chad Smith drum off thing. Like, that is hilarious too. All of his appearances on late night talk shows are hilarious. They are gold. He shaves off for a while. Conan O'Brien was growing a beard. And he did this whole thing where he like hated Conan O'Brien's beard and he shaved it on live TV. Anyway, Will Ferrell is the worst kept secret in Rushmore. Get Hard. Yeah, I'm not a Kevin Hart guy though, so but I get it. Yeah,
but it was a funny
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell was the king of that movie.
Christian. What's your thoughts on Will Ferrell?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know that Will Ferrell had ever graced a stand-up stage, and so that is the sole reason he is not on this, because now I'm gonna have to go back and see.
So look, let me just say this, a little caveat, because I almost put him on there, Andy, and I was looking for some of those things, and what threw Adam Sandler in number 4 over Will Ferrell, because I knew that you were having those two. Sandler has the stand-up. He's got the record. He's got the record. So I went and looked up, and there is a stand-up. One of the very first things that he ever does, he's still on SNL, I believe. It's like 99. And he goes on Conan O'Brien and does a stand-up. And
it's so good.
He heckles himself, and he comes out the stands, as a little like small guy beating the crud out of him.
Everybody's talking about my tight pants. Have you seen that one on Jimmy Fallon? That's a great one. He does the thing again on Jimmy Fallon. Him and Jimmy Fallon are great together too. He does the one where Jimmy Fallon comes out and he's singing like "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey, and he's a heckler in the crowd. He's like, "Where did they go?" And he just keeps commenting on the. It's not even heckling, but it's anyway. Gold. He is so hilarious.
Andy, like you said, how your wife is like just not a big Adam or a Will Ferrell fan. I and my wife are the same way. I can watch Will Ferrell all day, but there are 3 movies that my wife will watch with Will Ferrell. Elf, it's her favorite Christmas movie.
Smart lady.
Kicking and Screaming, and Spirited.
Okay, I need to watch that one. So
that's the only 3 movies that she'll watch.
Yeah,
that have
you won't watch Zohan?
Nope.
Which has both your guys in it. Yeah.
Yep.
My George, worst kept secret, and Rushmore.
All right, this is probably. And look, I'm pretty sure Andy has this one pegged. I'm going to go to my George. To me, this guy's on my Rushmore of actors. I mean, whenever we do that show, we haven't done it yet, but it's coming. It's coming. We'll do it eventually. He's on my Rushmore of actors, just right there. I don't think he's my George, but he's there. Shockingly, I'm going for another triple Crushmore, but I am triple Crushmoring with Christian, with Robin Williams. Robin Williams is my George. He's just the chops on this guy, the versatility everywhere across the board. Everything, Andy, you mentioned it earlier, from RV, which is just silly, funny. God, I can watch that movie over and over again. I mean, I laugh so hard. Reason I picked Steve Martin, honestly, Steve Martin and Robin have very similar comedy and similar movies in some of the things that he does. But Robin was way better. Let me just tell you, his stand-up comedy is off the charts hilarious. But most of it was not appropriate. It was prior to him really blowing up and being big. Most of it is pretty raunchy. But again, reason I still have him on the mountain, right? As opposed to a Richard Pryor, a Chappelle, which I love those guys. I admire these guys. These guys are listen,
Red Fox.
You're going to argue with me about these guys. Put them on your mountain. I get it. But for me, Robin Williams has done things that are so heart-tugging. Patch Adams, Dead Poet Society. I mean, these are tear jerkers. I've cried. I mentioned it earlier. Fisher King. I mean, he does so many good things. Voice acting.
In Aladdin, I mean, did that start out as one voice, the genie? Because
they wanted me to do the script, and then I came in one day, the first day, and read it and tried it, the scripted version, and then I asked, "Do you mind if I play?" And they went, "No, try." And I just went off and did everything I knew. And it was great because I did about, I don't know how many.
Did they just let you run riot?
Big time. There's 30 hours of stuff that they eventually condensed.
There's one thing that you didn't mention, and I was hoping you wouldn't because I wanted to save it to the end. He is widely considered one of the best improv actors when it comes to movies. There are so many scenes. You can pull this up. Like, I've seen this video. It's probably 10 years old. It probably came out closer to when he passed away, because it was probably part of the tribute or whatever. They have just this series of things of like people talking, whether it's Matt Damon with a Good Will Hunting or something like that, and talking about how he just comes out of nowhere with these scenes and the directors keep them because it's amazing. Half of the Genie was improv. I mean, so many, and that's why the Genie was so good, because it wasn't scripted. It didn't feel that way. It felt like him. He is so good as Peter Pan, and it just goes on and on and on. I love this guy. Andy, you mentioned earlier, ending too soon, suicide. It's just a tragedy, man. And I actually am talking about suicide in my school right now. It mind boggles how when we look at a Robin Williams, we look at someone who has it not necessarily all together, but he's got everything. He's got the fame, the fortune, the fantastic movies. He's hilarious. And the funny thing is, he's laughing on the outside, so everybody else will laugh on the outside. But inside, he was a hurting man. And we've seen it. His documentary was phenomenal. And I kind of went on this string as soon as he passed, kind of like binge watching every Robin Williams movie I could find and finding movies. I was like, oh, I've never seen this one, right? Like World's Best Dad. Like I had never seen that one. And it wasn't his best performance, but I loved it. Like he's just so good. Anyways, I can't speak anymore about him. Christian, that's why I said you surprised me. 3 out of 4 we nailed, right? You had Jamie Foxx. I had Steve Martin. A little bit of a testament of our age, but I got it. And so, man, great picks. Robin Williams, man, that's my man. Like when we did this, I was trying to figure out how to get him on, and he was there.
Yeah, I knew that. That's the guy I had picked for you the whole time. You said triple Crushmore though, but I didn't use him. So
no, I triple Crushmore with Christian. So Eddie Murphy, Adam Sandler, and Robin Williams are all on our mountains.
Wow, look at you guys. That just helps out my Benjamins though. So
that does help your Benjis. Like I didn't triple. Yeah. So we tripled there, which this is great. So in this show, 1, 2, 3, 4, we had 4 Crushmores. That's probably the most
Crushmore.
Quite some time.
Great mountains all around. Love it. I think you got to know a lot about us through our picks and kind of where we go with things and where we think of that. But gosh, you know what? We're not done.
We're not done. Benjamin time.
This, man.
Rushmore community. Here we go. All about the Benjamins. All about the Benny Hills, I guess. Welcome back to the Rushmore Show. We're at the second segment. We've already given 3 fantastic rounds. If you made it this far, don't forget, the best thing to do is drop a comment and tell us your top 4. I don't understand why we continue to keep watching, and you tell me that you've seen my show, but you don't tell me who your favorite 4 are. I want to know who your favorite 4 are, but I'm going to give you 12 more right now in this segment. Andy, you ready? Christian, we've gone over the rules. Here's the rules. Serpentine draft. Christian starts first. Andy's going second. I'm at the bookends. We'll wrap that thing around. 12 more comedians. No crushes. We've done enough crushes already. Here we go. Christian, where are you going with your Benjamins? By the way,
all right,
for you out there, Rushmore community, we consider Benjamin Franklin as the honorable mention because he was the next guy potentially on the mountain in a lot of studies. Christian, Benjamin, where are you going?
So first Benjamin is gonna go to Mr. Jim Carrey.
Oh!
I thought.
Oh, see, right, that's it. That's the response I wanted. The Grinch.
Dude, he's the number 1 on my list. Like literally,
he was on my number 5. Just crossed him off. He was gonna go next. So you just changed up my list now. All right, let's go here. I can't believe he's not picked yet. Again, falls into my comedy realm. My first Benjamin is Jack Black.
Jack Black. I knew it. See, that's who I thought. Honestly, that's who I thought you were picking earlier.
He got bumped out.
2 picks here, and you took my 2 favorite ones on the list. So I'm up next, and I am going to go with, there are some Kings of Comedy, some Def Comedy Jam guys that I just knew should have been on this mountain and some people should have picked. I can't believe they're still both available for me, and I get double picks. Can I start off with Martin Lawrence right off the bat with my first round? In my second round,
I crossed him off.
Second round, I'm going with none other than Chris Rock.
Oh, that was my next one.
All right.
Coming back to you guys.
Snake it back to me. I'm in the middle here. My next pick. I'm going to pick this one because I'll be upset if it comes back to me and he's not here. The guy that you thought I was going to mention, one of my favorite movies of all time, Mike Myers. I'm going to go with Mike Myers.
Interesting.
So outside of Wayne's World, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Great movie.
Great.
Austin Powers. SNL Skits. Yeah. Anyways, Christian, you're up. You get 2.
All right. So first one's going to go for Bob Saget.
Oh my God, I forgot Bob Saget. He's so.
R.I.P.
Hey, you want to talk about raw comedy? Don't ever watch his comedy.
Never. Keep it to the Full House stuff. All right, that's where you got to keep it. And then again, I'm gonna go to John Mulaney, more of that new age comedy.
Nice. He is so funny. He is so funny.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, well, I'm glad my gamble didn't hurt me because I left this guy out there, and I absolutely love this guy, and I'm gonna go with Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is my next on my list.
Now look,
hilarious.
This is my last option to talk, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. There are about 12 comedians that are just absolutely amazing. One of them I'm trying to go to see in a few weeks, that are traveling as stand-up comedians, but literally the versatility and everything else they have, they're really just stand-up comedians. And there are some that are just going to miss my mountain, and I am sad about it. If you pick them, congratulations. I'll tell you, there's a lot of them out there that are freaking phenomenal. And I didn't pick them because of that. But I'm going with versatility. Going back, I've said both of these names already today. I can't believe, I can believe, because I'm old and older than the crew. And so I'm going to go with these two guys. I'm going to nail out two more 80s staples. One, Chevy Chase. Two, Bill Murray. I'm going with those four.
There you go.
To round off my comedians, both of those guys are SNL guys. Both of those are classic 80s movies. I can watch them all. National Lampoon Christmas Vacation, The Bus, The Joke.
All right, my last one, and I'm gonna pick a legitimate Benjamin, and I'm gonna go for Ben Stiller.
Nice, Ben
There you
Stiller.
go,
dude. Something about Mary.
Dodgeball.
It's way up there.
Dodgeball, yes. So Dodgeball. That Night at the Museum. Night at the Museum is a great one. Yeah. Last pick, Mr. Irrelevant in the draft, but the final comedian. You have every
Brock Purdy of the draft.
You have everyone in the world to pick. Where are you going to go for the final?
Guys, this one is hard. This one is hard. It really, really is. But I think that where I'm going to land, and this might be controversial, but I'm gonna go with Tracy Morgan.
Oh yes, I love it. I love Tracy. Great pick.
Yeah.
Have you ever,
guys?
You can cut this out, Kirk. You can cut this out, Kirk, if you want to. But have you seen? Because this is, I feel like 18 people have seen this movie. It was a made-for-TV movie on VH1 called Totally Awesome, and it was making fun of the 80s movies. And Tracy Morgan is in it. And
isn't he like
for anything other than Tracy Morgan's parts? It is the funniest. You ever throw a chihuahua off the roof in the projects? What? Like, random.
He just he says things that are completely out of left field, but you're like, all right, from you, I'll take it.
Dude is hilarious. He was in Spirited.
He was. He is that.
Good.
He is the ghost of Christmas future.
What? I have to go watch it now. What?
Yeah, he gets all mad because he's like, man, I don't want to just be pointing my one finger, right? I need some more lines.
Anyways, man, so many more are out there. And you know what? We did not even go to legends. The oldest guy on here is probably Steve Martin and Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, but there are guys before that. I mean, Red Fox. Let me tell you, Red Fox, that's my dad's guy. My dad would have had him on the top. Sanford and Son? Dude.
Yep.
Bro. But there's so many. And that guy paved ways for all of these guys, the Pryors and the Murphys and Bill Cosby and the whole Kings of Comedy, the whole redneck Kings of Comedy guys, all those guys. Awesome. Well, look, it's time to end this thing. It's been quite a show. We've now shifted into Funny February. I have to first off say thank you, Christian, for coming and joining us. Coming and joining some guys you just met a couple months back and saying, yeah, I'll do that. Thank you for being a part of the community. Thank you for coming on. We'd love to have you back on later in the year and kind of maybe something different, see what else you're interested in. And thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
For sure.
You, great lists, guys. What?
Crushmore 3, triple crush with one
Two
of the
triple
guys.
Crushmores in the
Go.
same, just different.
Yeah.
Different.
Yep. Exactly.
So anyways, hey, so if you're still here, don't forget, next week, Funny February, next week, we are bringing on some more comedy. The goal, and I'm not promising, but we're hoping we'll probably have a show next week. If not next week, it'll be the week after, with none other than my son, Cannon. He's going to be his opening debut of YouTube. He's been super nervous. And none other than the star of Girl Dad. None other than the star of Girl Dad, which if you haven't gone and checked that out, what are you waiting for? Andy's other show, we're having his daughter Zoe on to do the Rushmore of jokes. Now look, this is coming from a 7 and a 9-year-old? 9 now? 9?
Almost 9. She's 8.
Almost 9. So these are going to be the Rushmore of jokes from a 7 and a 9-year-old. Listen, if you don't support us next week, you don't support us. Get on out of here. Look, show up next week. Make these kids just blow up just so they'll be so happy. And thank you for all that you do. We've got my other daughter coming on later. We've got Sean coming back from gas station foodies coming back to do skits with us. Man, we are going to have a blast this month. It's going to be so much fun. And Andy, man, you got any closing remarks to let these folks know?
It's starting with a bang. I love this. I'm so excited for Funny February. It's just going to be a blast. This is all about comedy. So it's just going
I can't wait to hear everybody tell us how
one.
crazy it is that we didn't pick certain people, because there's so many gods still out there available in the comedy world.
I have about 15 more Benjamins that I didn't pull from that I'm heard about.
I can't focus it, but yeah, it's long.
Yeah.
So, all right, Rushmore community, thanks for being here. See you in the comments. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Andy, how we end this thing?
This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your
top four
and nothing more.
Peace. Yeah.